to BackChat. You know where to find us on socials, BackChat_, or you can send us an email, hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. If you're watching us, you can listen to us on wherever you get your podcasts. If you are listening to us, you can see this beautiful man's face over on YouTube. We do everything. Thank you to our supporters and our sponsors in Whippersnapper, Shelter, Margaret River Roasting Co., Blue Bet, and, of course, Leadable Cameras.
I think his beautiful face was me, by the way.
Yeah, I was trying to pick that up.
Michael Barlow's in the house. G'day, Mick.
Well, Dan, good to be here. Yeah, very
Thanks
good
for
to be
coming.
here. But you nearly ran out of room for all your sponsors now. This is getting big.
We also have something very special for you, and I'm just speaking openly and honestly here. The Flag Mantle merch that we've been selling here on BackChat.
Nice.
We have a former Fremantle player here. It's not nice, Mick. It's been in transit every day we've been in Melbourne. It's now Wednesday. Still not
Still
here.
in transit.
It's
Okay.
still in a box on a truck in Melbourne somewhere.
But
So
it'll be parcelled up and protected nicely because I don't want it to deteriorate at
correct,
all.
and it'll be touching the wood in the car, assumingly, with the Flag Mantle stuff. Now, Mick, thank you for coming in. First two-time guest here at BackChat. If you remember, Derby week.
Nah, sorry.
Not first two-time.
Luke Shuey.
Luke Shuey, second two-time.
Yep.
And Luke Shuey sledged me the other day.
Please continue.
Did my radio show there in Perth on a Saturday morning. We got Shuey on, and they'd just beaten Essendon the night before, and he took a mark in the goal square.
Yes.
And he might not have taken the mark in the goal square, but I was playing footy that day locally, and Zave and Luke and that asked me, "Where are you going to play?" And you just go play full forward, wouldn't you? Or he goes, I was like, "Nah, I'll play around the midfield because that's my bread and butter."
Where were you playing?
Shepparton United, GVFL.
Well done.
One-off appearance there for my local
The
club.
prodigal son returns.
Yes, 15 years from
Wow.
last game to the next game.
Boy.
And my output was slightly under probably what everyone was expecting. Anyway, Luke Shuey goes to me, he goes, "Oh, mate, whatever you do, just make sure no one takes you to the goal square like I did back in a derby and took a mark on me." So he was into me.
Wow. And did that happen or not?
I can't recall. I can definitely remember taking you to the goal square and taking one on you. So
Okay.
and we'll just play that highlight right now.
Okay, Mick. Okay. Look, you're the guest. I'm the host. We're the hosts. We haven't asked you the first question that we ask every guest on this show, which is, we know you've done great things for the Fremantle Football Club. You're in the best players who ever played for them. You played for the Gold Coast Suns.
Didn't do a huge amount there.
You won 3 Ross Glendinning medals. The Ross Glendinning Allen Medal. We don't care. We are here to tell you. We do. Great football, great. But we want to know your greatest sporting achievement, not on the football field. Okay,
cool.
So look, there's been some footballers that can play cricket. There's been we had a ballet dancer yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. So
There
you
you
can
go.
go anywhere you like. But what's some other sports that you've been doing?
Well, I grew up in a sporting family.
Good.
And country Victoria, like yourself, or Geelong's more probably regional nowadays. But
Yes.
So did everything: swimming, basketball, cricket, tennis, netball. Mum was a prolific netball coach, and I would say my biggest achievement, or in terms of outside of football, was the grade 6 state championship for the men's netball. Or the male boys netball, I suppose it was.
Men's.
The men's playing against the grade 6s. We were all 21. But no, the grade 6, or the primary school championships, state netball.
Yes.
I made the side when I was in grade 4.
Wow.
So I was just walking to school one day and Mum was coaching. I don't think it was highly sought after to get into the netball side at primary school. So Mum had my brother and probably 6 of his mates in the side. And I walked past and they needed someone just to fill in for a drill. So I filled in, and Mum she definitely saw some potential. So I played for the St Brendan's netball side from grade 4, 5 and 6. So I played 3 years. I was very established by the time we got to grade 6. In grade 6, we made the grand final and went under.
Oh, no.
So I think Jared Roughhead's side. I'm nearly certain Jared Roughhead, if you ask him,
Was playing.
Won a state netball championship. He's from Traralgon or something, isn't he?
Yes.
Gippsland. So
Yeah, Gippsland.
whatever his school is, and if he doesn't answer with that question, that answer,
I
I'll
might
be
lead
stunned.
him. I might lead him.
Because
into
my
it.
best achievement is making the grand final.
Wow.
He's gone on and won it.
Where'd you play? What position?
Well, grade 4, wing attack.
Yes.
I was kind of last picked. Grade 5, centre. and grade 6 centre.
So three-time netball. We love that. We actually love that. You want to tell me
3-time
about yours?
Ross Glendinning, 3-time netball.
Do you want to tell me about yours?
Well,
You don't have to.
no, it's there's just a cricket ball there. That was a game that I had some incredible bowling figures. Under 12s, Chewett Hill Cricket Club, grand final.
What were the figures?
5 for 16.
Leaked a few runs.
Yeah.
Man of the match performance in a losing grand final.
Grand final.
Lost
Would you
it.
give it all back for the premiership?
No, this trophy has taken me places.
Would you give it all back? It's made it to Melbourne here at BackChat.
For somehow.
Now let's get into Michael Barlow. Now we do want to talk footy with you, mate. So you grew up in Shepparton, and as you've just said, you win a best and fairest in 2007 with Shep.
United.
Yes, Shep United.
Shepparton is the crosstown rivals.
My apologies, Shep United. What kit do the Shep United boys wear?
Demons.
And girls now, probably.
Yep.
Demons. The Demons song too.
Correct.
Very good. Okay, so you do that. You don't go through the TAC Cup like every other kid seems to do here, and you move to Werribee, 2008, 2009, a best and fairest in 2009, second in the listed medal in 2009. Who beat
Miles Sewell.
Sully.
You know Miles Sewell?
Yeah, I played against him. I think North Ballarat.
I shouldn't do that face. I'm doing that face as if we hate Miles Sewell because he's actually a really good fella.
Yes.
I haven't seen him for 15 or however long it was since I became runners up to him, but obviously Brad Sewell's brother, very good person and very good player that never got an opportunity at the top. Miles Sewell.
So about opportunity, right? So over that period of time, you're playing good footy in the VFL with one of my good mates, Michael Rockefeller, setting the world alight down there at Werribee. Do you get a look in or chats with AFL clubs over that period before you're on the list?
Yeah, when I did 2 years at Shep United, GV, and got invited to train with St Kilda for 6 weeks heading into their rookie draft period.
2009.
That would have been going into... No, is that Wikipedia?
No.
Well, whatever it is, it was wrong. So I looked it up kind of bi-weekly. We'll look it up to see what's happening. I think 2007, trained at St Kilda. Wow. So at the end of that season, trained with St Kilda. Went down and genuinely, and I say this very sincerely, I went down there not to embarrass myself. Like a kid out of the country footy leagues. I was at uni. You mentioned your mate, Michael Rockefeller. Yeah. He lived a uni lifestyle of which you do partake in the social side of things more so than the educational aspects.
Yes.
So I went to St Kilda as a uni student pretty much that played country footy. And I was like, I wouldn't have known my left from my right in terms of professionalism or what was really required. I was relatively fit and kind of enjoyed training and whatnot. But I got there and it was a run around the tan day one.
Wow.
A run around the tan, and John Peake, who was the recruiting guy, said, all right, here's your sheet. Here's the arrival times for each day. So, the old days, but just give you a sheet. That's your information. It says 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. No worries, I'll be there at 8. Got there, I was a little bit late, like Melbourne traffic. Trying to find a park. 8 o'clock ticks by. Well, that's all right, they'll probably do a warm-up. 8 o'clock was the time trial started. Oh, no. So I'm trying to park the car. Oh. And I'm seeing St Kilda players in their kit running a time trial. And I jog over to this group of coaches who I've never met before in my Shep United singlet and a pair of white footy shorts. And I'm like, I'm Michael Barlow, and does that meant to mean anything? So the fitness guy goes, Dave Misson, just run, just kind of go. So I ran, and on the way around, like in my head, I'm like, what have I done? I've like embarrassed myself already, like running around. So I didn't get an official time, but I ran the tan. And I literally finished, and all the St Kilda boys are kind of slapping up, and I'm kind of filtering in. And then I remember as someone introduced me to Ross Lyon, who was the coach. Pretty quickly, I came to the realisation Ross Lyon didn't like tardiness in terms of time. So he didn't even really say hello. He was like, maybe check your time or check your watch next time. So I go over and do a session with them, and it was the most embarrassing day of my life, nearly.
Yeah. I feel so awkward listening to this. Makes me uncomfortable.
It was, and then the next day, I think it was 8 o'clock start. I was there about 5:30. But long story short, I do six or 8 weeks there, leading to that rookie draft, and quickly figured out I was actually okay, and probably had more capacity than I thought, and I didn't get drafted on that occasion, but then went to Werribee and plugged away for a couple of years and got an opportunity.
So did you ever speak to Ross about that?
100%. When he first rocked up at Freo,
Because
how's
Mark
this?
Harvey was your coach when he
Mark
first...
Harvey, day one, Freo. By round 4, we're playing St Kilda.
Yeah.
And I don't like to toot my own horn, but round 4, St Kilda, coached by Ross Lyon, he has the nerve to tag me with Clint Jones after. So, 2012, Ross rocks up. First time I'd officially... Well, I'd have met him across that 6-8 week period. But he walks up and he goes, yeah, mate. We drafted this bloke. He goes, you were stiff, mate. You put yourself out there, and we were probably just thinking, country footy, and there's this kid from the Sandy Dragons who's, leafy suburbs, but yeah, we delisted him halfway through the year, so you were probably a bit stiff.
Oh, that's great. I didn't realise it started with Ross, the journey, the AFL journey. That's unreal. So you do start at Freo. Mark Harvey's your coach in your first season there. First game. Charlie, Fremantle supporter over here, was just watching some of your highlights, listening to Brian Taylor bang on about 17 touches with 7 minutes to go and a goal in your first game.
I've watched that a few times.
Just with the Wikipedia on one. And then, did at the time, are you thinking, this is not too hard? What are these people?
I don't know
how old are you at this
I
stage?
don't know how you felt. You're a bit. You're a defender.
Absolutely.
So life's a bit tougher as a defender, all right, coming through, like growing up, and you would have played your first game when you were 18 or something.
Yep.
Yeah. I was 21, played a couple of years VFL. I'm adamant it was the easiest game of footy I've played, that first game. Just off the back of, physically I'd had a pre-season, and, what's the word? Attitude? The capacity of those around you is far better than what I've been used to at country footy and then VFL. So you're playing with better players. You're physically fitter. There's no burden of expectation on you. So I just went out and I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 touches, and then you get your 1 or 2 and you're like, well, maybe 3 or 4, and then kind of snowballed. And there was a bit of a perfect storm, but it was a nice day.
Ross Glendinning in your first derby, like 5 weeks later. Like you genuinely must have been just thinking, what is this?
Went to Clubber later that night.
Yeah, absolutely you did. Thought you might have little via hippie club maybe?
It was
Sunday night.
Sunday. It was Sunday.
Did you go to Clubber after winning the Roscoe?
Yeah.
Did you have the Roscoe on you?
No.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I went there.
Fair way from a boy from Shep.
That is, yeah. But it was... I maintain I was very lucky to win any Ross Glendinning medals. The games I played when I won them, I remember Chris Mayne, who probably wasn't best on ground many times, but one game he was unbelievable. And they gave it to me, which I didn't mind. And then there was a day Dave Mundy was far better than me, and I think we shared it. And even that first derby, I don't think I was super. Like I was okay, but I think I got lucky a fair bit with Ross Glendinning.
Yeah, well, you're 3 of them, so you got a fair bit of luck. Charlie, is this correct? Second most total disposals after 5 games of all time.
That's correct.
Who was on top?
I'll check for you.
Okay,
I think it was Matty Rowell.
Mick will know. He's been checking on Wikipedia.
Well, as you would have heard earlier in the
do you know
episode.
Do you know this
by
stat?
game 3, I'm getting tagged by Cameron Ling, and then game 4 was Clint Jones. So, yeah, it was a bit stiff there, that little chunk.
What was the transition like from Mark Harvey to Ross Lyon? Like, did you get enough of Mark Harvey to understand him as a coach? And then
Yeah, definitely. I loved Harves. I'm still very connected to Harves. Like, he's just a good human, and he's just a real human. I was doing I coach the Werribee Footy Club nowadays, and I was walking up the stairs the other week to work, and I heard this voice coming out of the function room on a Friday luncheon for one of the local footy clubs. I'm like, I know that voice. And I walk in, it's Mark Harvey, just talking absolute trash. But he's a tremendous talker and storyteller. But he was great. He just invested in his... He's probably a bit raw in how he did it, and like he was an AFL coach, but just that was kind of rough around the edges, and just a really pure human being with great footy knowledge and acumen. But when Ross kind of became available, the rest was history for him. Like
being not a poster boy, but you're mature age draft pick, and you come to the club as an adult rather than a kid. Like, do you look at the stuff happening now, or did you see stuff over your time in your career of guys coming into the club where you think maybe players are getting drafted too young or not good enough? Or
there definitely was. I think that the draft can be so hit and miss, can't it? In terms of we see players that aren't in the AFL, like Nick Martin comes in this year, and everyone's like, why hasn't he been playing instead of him? But yeah, it's like anything. It's like stock market. If everyone knew what was what, you'd just go with that. But there were some great stories. I think you'd share this sentiment that some players come in and you're like, I got one wrong. I thought Nat Fyfe when he first started, which was my year. I didn't think he was up to it, which might have fallen just short of the mark. Because he was still is a pretty handy player.
That's good.
But he was kind of a skinny kid, skinny forward, big ears, big hands. I don't think I'm speaking out of school in terms of Nat's attitude. Pretty early was kind of pretty lazy and didn't love the ice bars, all that. And now he's become absolute cream of the crop with that stuff. But I got that one wrong. But there were some others where you 3 or 4 weeks passes and you're like, well, I think they might have mucked this one up.
There were some kids come in and you make your mind up pretty quickly as a player, and especially as you get a little bit older. I did anyway.
Yeah.
Did you have the opposite as well? You have guys in there that are like, man, this guy is just training the house down. He's going to be good, and then you don't see much of him.
Who have we got there? Yeah, I think there's a couple of stories along the way. And again, clubs get them wrong as well. I remember Sam Menengola was like, this guy is an unbelievable trainer in the way, time trials and physique and the open field drills and training, and then never got an opportunity at Hawthorn or Freo, and then goes and finds a niche. So I think a lot of it's about opportunity, isn't it? Once you get your right opportunity, you maximise. But there is a portion of players that just don't have that capacity.
Who didn't? Is there any specific examples? I think you got one for
Well,
me.
I'm a 2-time delisted player, so eventually it catches up with everyone.
Yeah.
There was. I remember, and I won't use names. But Player X.
Yes.
So Player X was on the list, and my understanding is, and this may be a correct story, it might be a myth. I heard this kind of secondhand from a reliable source within the club. That remember Freo played kind of a couple of round 23 games, and they pushed out a team that couldn't win, pretty much. Of one of which I captained, which was an exciting day.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, beating Port Adelaide at quarter time, then it fell apart. But anyway, it was an away game to Port Adelaide. Both games, one was at Marvel against St Kilda, and one was at, I can't remember which one, but leading into the game, there was a player on the list. And so anyone who was available or not going to play that final the next week, they were pretty much playing, apart from a handful that were expendable, like myself. So there was, the Dockers that couldn't win jumping on the plane, and match committee apparently sat, and there was this last player that was a rookie listed player. And I'm hearing from a reliable source that Ross said, we can't play him. Like, it's OH&S. Like, we can't.
Is that bad?
We can't put him out there because he'll either break in half or he'll hurt himself, like doing his shoelace up. Such was I think the lack of confidence in certain player that didn't go ahead and play any AFL footy. But that was the story filtering around the club, that the player was going to be an OH&S and would rather play with 21.
So in that first year, you're flying, getting Brownlow votes when Ross goes, and then you break your leg round 14. What does that feel like, to break your leg?
Well,
like that?
You didn't feel it.
No.
And then I was quickly on the green whistle, so I definitely didn't feel it.
Yes.
A couple of weeks later, not a couple of weeks, like a couple of days when you have the surgery and whatnot, it starts to sink in. From my point of view, I was always glass half full, because I'd taken that journey to get into the AFL like a little bit more of a unique pathway. When I got there and that happened, I had to take the optimistic approach. If this had happened 12 months ago, I wouldn't kind of be full-time employed, wouldn't have access to full-time physio. I wouldn't have a career in the AFL beyond this injury. So
I'm just going to adjust your mic a bit.
I was more optimistic than pessimistic when that happened.
And so the actual incident, it's just a footy incident, right? You don't
And
look
you
backwards.
tried to like stand on it straight away, and did it not feel that bad as soon as it happened?
I think I was a bit oblivious to what had happened. I'd like to say I was pretty tough and got up and thought walking around on a broken leg type of thing, but there was
Snapped your leg in
there
half.
was a bit of that. But there was also a bit of when it happened, my mindset like, no, it can't be, it can't have happened. I remember it was a big impact, and can't recall hearing anything but I knew that my leg was in the wrong position, and as I stood up, it went the wrong way. So
What was the conversation like with Reece Palmer after it?
he was genuinely devastated, of which, I think even back then there was probably some vitriol towards him around, what are you doing, and that elements of hate externally. Like from my point of view, it is what it is. It's the game. I do remember so Reece, like it's water off a duck's back for me down the road, and I know he was devastated himself going to the back end of that year as well, and potentially beyond. But I do remember footy catches up with you pretty quick. I remember thinking, because Dylan Robertson got the ball in the middle of the ground, and I was running down the wing, the Chris Main wearing wing, old Subiaco.
Yes.
And I was like, how good's this? Like, we're winning and footy's, I'm going all right. And my family was in town that weekend. I was like, we'll go out for dinner tonight, have a few beers. So the first time I'd ever kind of had taken a moment of liberty on the field, the ball got wobbled in, and I went back and I was thinking that at the time. I was like, this is great. This is so good. And then bang. Oh, it quickly catches up with you, doesn't it?
Wow. So you actually remember thinking that. I had a few moments like that. Like you do remember those, because usually you switched on, you think about the ball, you think about contest, whatever it is. Sometimes you just, some people ask, like, what are you thinking about there? Usually it's footy, but every now and then
it's probably flip of the coin job, to be honest. There's sometimes where you're like, I remember. I'm sorry to jump in, but I played a game. I reckon it was 2012. It was Ross's first game coaching. We played Geelong, and I was the sub. And it was pretty much I'd come back the year before from the broken leg, but it was no good. And I still was probably no good early in 2012. Came on as a sub, and the ball got handballed to me. It was a tight match. And as it got handballed to me, and I kicked the goal, and Ballas, like later that night or the next, he goes, what were you thinking about there? Because you kind of just rolled on the ground. And I said, I literally got the ball, and I noticed that they had a new sponsor. I was like, a new sponsor. Like, as I was snapping a goal.
No way. So you pulled out the IGA.
Yeah, it was rock tape. I'll never forget it. I go, rock tape are on board.
That was the coloured tape, right?
Yeah.
The pink and the blue. And
yeah. So rock tape was on board.
I think it was, Fletcher said that Juddy used to be like thinking about the stock market or something. He'd go out there and he'd just, because he was that good, he used to zone off and he'd just be trading stocks in his head. So,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
2012 to 2015, you play pretty much every game like through that period. You missed a couple here and there, maybe some subs. And during that period, it's the 2013 grand final. What do you remember about that sort of period at the Dockers? Because it, strong body of work for you.
Yeah, it was a special period. It was pretty much 4 years, was it? 12 to 15. And when you put it like that, it feels like not a significant period at all. But Ross's impact on the group and the club was significant, and also the playing leaders like Pav and Sandilands and McFarlane and Mundy, who's still going.
Yes,
which is kind of you and I are sitting here, right?
Mate.
And I'm like, I could not go out there. Like briefly. For the year after you not retire, get delisted the second time, you think I could still do that. But now I'm like, no way. And you watch Mundy and he's still going. But that period was, there was a cultural shift. Kind of, we started to stand for a significant trademark, and the players bought into it, and kind of Ross held us accountable to it. And it wasn't all rainbows and lollipops. It was, I think 2012 we were kind of only just going halfway through the year. And I remember there was a significant game at Richmond, in Melbourne against Richmond. Wet, cold. The old Dockers would have just fallen over, and Sandilands goes down, and I don't think Pav played maybe. And it's like, oh, well, too hard. But we kind of galvanised and won that game. And from there, it became like that anywhere, anytime mantra for us. It's easy to say, but it's bloody hard to do. And from there, it was like when we wore the white shorts and put the white jumper on, it was kind of like 22 versus the rest. So that was, I remember my most significant feeling around that period was we felt like we could win anywhere and any time.
Was it 2013 you beat Geelong in the finals? Was that 2013?
I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yes.
Because obviously just had a baby the other day.
Congratulations.
Friday.
Well done.
And Riley, she had to stay in hospital with Lonnie for a couple of nights. And so I'd go in for the day and then I'd go home. And I love my fiancée and I love my new baby, but I also loved that last night of kind of being home alone.
Yes.
And I was... Where's your mind going, Dan? You just keep your head up here.
I was actually keep going. I was thinking about that similar thing happening when my wife had a baby, going home by yourself.
Yeah, you go home by yourself, and Riley looks after me more than anyone. I was like, you kind of didn't know what to do. I was like, so I had a couple of beers, and I was like sitting there. I was like, oh, make the most of this. YouTube, 2013 qualifying final.
The whole game.
Go to woe. Not even siren to siren.
That's your happy place.
It was YouTube. And it was like the Channel 7,
like the
10 minutes
broadcast.
leading in. I was like, oh, yeah.
And was it worth it?
Oh, yeah. First quarter was a bit grim. Speaking about thinking about things when you're on the field, I'll never forget that game. Quarter time, we were down, and couldn't get near it. And I vividly thought, well, I'm going to get subbed out here. I was like, I'm going to get subbed out. We're going to lose. Probably get dropped next week. As you say, I didn't miss many games. I was always picked in that period, but I think the strength of that time and Ross, you always felt on edge, even to the point in that game I felt on edge. And
Really?
I remember I personally kicked a goal early in the second, and I was like, well, it's going to be hard to sub me now.
Can't get subbed out.
And I kicked another one 10 minutes later. I was like, now you're not taking me off, eh?
So did it turn into one of your better games? So two goals in a final.
It did, yeah. Well, I kicked another one after that as well. So
No worries.
Charlie would know that. What
Yeah,
did I Charlie?
Yeah. Charlie, come on, get the numbers out.
Yeah, it's 3 goals. Yeah.
Thanks for the confirmation, Charlie. Mick's just told us that.
But it was
32 touches.
32 touches. There we go.
That was an amazing day, like the anywhere, anytime thing. Leading into that week, it was, made a fairly strong point of Geelong playing a final. If they were playing Collingwood, they're not going to play it in Geelong, and we harness that. We're like, they're treating us like garbage. They're putting us here. So you go out and show them. Eddie Maguire's already talking about playing Geelong in a prelim and all that. So because if they go through, Geelong will win this, obviously.
Yes.
So we were breathing some fire and brimstone, and it was as good a day. Well, probably the best day I've experienced in terms of on an AFL field.
So who do you play in the prelim then? Back
Sydney?
At home?
Yeah, Sydney.
Yeah.
And we kind of came out in that one and just punched them to the throat a bit. Like first quarter, unlike Geelong at qualifying final, first quarter we just went bang. And I felt like we nearly should have won it by quarter time. I think we kicked inaccurately. So that was a pretty comfortable game. So we had the lead, and Sydney came at a patch during the kind of third quarter, but we repelled. And I remember the chant went up halfway through the last. And again, you have moments where you're thinking about stuff. You're like, I'm going to play in the grand final. And really late in the game, I got a corky in the knee, or someone came and hit my knee. And straight away, you dramatise things, don't you? Like, yes. I'm not going to play next week. I'm injured. But any other game, you'd just be like, you'd probably be at the Llama Bar afterwards.
Llama Bar.
getting Mouse drink cards. Is Mouse sponsoring?
Good man, Mouse. No, he bought us Anthony Koutafidis, brought to you by Mouse.
Good.
Mouse has looked after us. Okay, so...
I just think about Sydney in 2013. You drew with them as well. That year. Do you remember much of that? Because it was I think it was pretty big deficit.
This is why I'm a coach, Dan. I remember this because Ross, win, lose or draw, you come in and you'd be like, could have the best win ever. And he'd be like, you know what? I can tell you a personal story about thinking I went all right, and Ross told me pretty quickly I didn't. But I remember that game because we drew, and Jack Hanneth as the ruckman what are ruckmen meant to do from long shots at goal? Well, they're meant to, or key defenders. What are they meant to do? Like
tap it over the line, defending.
Yeah, come
get clear it.
And which way? Like come with the ball and whack it in.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Jack, I don't know where Jack was standing. I think he was lost. I think he was up the top of the arc. Not to pin the draw or the loss of 2 points on Jack. Ross did. Ross did. I remember that one, because playing Sydney and Sydney, I don't reckon I played them there much, but it's an unbelievable atmosphere to play Sydney. They get right behind it, and late in the game it was all tied up, and we ended up drawing. Of which you're looking for little minute moments to have won, and there were a couple.
So you watched the qualifying final back. You didn't put the grand final on in your last.
I watched it in lockdown, early days lockdown. I never rewatched it. Yeah, never rewatched it.
How was it?
Like riding a roller coaster, because we end up coming back in the game.
Yeah.
The day is a bit of a blur to me, and you've played in winning and losing.
Yep.
Never really felt like we were in that game. We felt like we clawed back, and Chris Mayne kicks a goal to go within 3 points, and there was a feeling of a bit of safety. We're like, I feel like we're back to normal. But yeah, my feelings and recollection of the day was that Hawthorn played it really well. They kept the ball off us for 15 minutes pretty much. Whereas the week before, Sydney just put it in a scrap, and we loved it. So we're just coming from a fair way back, and watching it back, it just validated kind of all the key moments. When you watch the Isaac Smith goal from what felt like about 80 metres out on the day, and the Luke Bruce kind of goal through a stoppage, there's key moments. Jack Gunston gets one on the boundary line and kind of zigzags and kicks inside 50. There were some moments there where you rewatch and you're like, well, no, I haven't watched this for a while.
Yeah.
And I was mediocre at best on the day, so I don't like to relive it.
Do you reckon there's scars there, or at the club, players, immediately preceding?
Not really. Again, Ross is like, I think this is what Ross did. I know Ross did this really well. Like you come in and he rips the emotion out of it pretty quickly. Like he referred to grand finals as round 26
during the week.
Yeah, so it's round 26. Here's your template. This is what they do well. We keep to the same routine. There's going to be a few more people at the airport. You're going to have to do this parade thing. All that. There's a few different elements of it.
Yeah.
But I remember after the game, he was very much like tactical. It was like, if we do this better, and I remember as a player, you're a bit raw because you're like, if you say this to us in round 13, beautiful, we got round 14. But that was what I think I was not scarred, but I was a bit raw from that. That when you miss that opportunity, there's no. All you want to do is go back, put yourself in the moment, and correct it.
Yeah,
and you just can't
because there's goals missed, right? Opportunities missed.
Yeah,
it makes it hard.
It was a windy day, and
you weren't outplayed. You were outplayed, but you lost. But you weren't. We were outplayed in 2015. We just weren't in the game. But you were in the game.
We were in the game, but like I said, it was like a game of the stall gift where you give someone 15 minutes head start. We just felt like, even though it wasn't drastic on the scoreboard, we just couldn't get our game going for long enough chunks. I think we were definitely a side that needed kind of large chunks of quarters to be like, we're kind of battering them to death. And the first quarter we kind of hung in there, and second quarter was fairly similar. I think the dominance was their way. And half time, Ross challenged the group because we didn't have weight of numbers performance. There was probably 6 of us that were going okay. And then I remember, straight after three-quarter time, it was like, that's what we needed. We bounced for 10, 15 minutes, and then again gave them a bit of a slip, which cost us.
2015 should have been a Derby grand final.
Yes,
you blokes cooked it.
You
did
prelim. I think we kicked the first 2
minor premiers.
Yeah,
right.
Minor premiers. Lost to beat Sydney.
Yeah,
and then
home prelim,
home
qualifying,
home prelim. Gee whiz, that's hard hitting from you, isn't it?
Well, we did the same, and because not saying we would have, but we would have liked to have played Fremantle. Yeah. I mean, it's an away team at the MCG.
That
you don't want to play Hawthorn going for 3 in a row at the MCG.
2015, the derbies that year was first one we smacked you by like 60, and then
early.
second one you guys smacked us like big time.
Yeah.
So I think we would have had a similar feeling playing you guys the next week of some confidence to get that done. Hawthorn was always the side. I think it's quite obvious for that period for us. Hawthorn was the side that we just couldn't catch.
Yeah.
We used to play them in Launceston, which kind of defied the anywhere, anytime mantra. We just every time every time we kind of went across the Apple Aisle, it just didn't translate.
So 2015, right? So that doesn't happen. Disappointing. You go to the Brownlow that year, though, don't you?
I do, yeah. Well, that was the day after we'd lost to Hawthorn. Friday night footy, prelim.
Yeah. Like
I said, we bounced out. John Griffin kicks a goal in the first 5 minutes to put us like 3 goals to zip up. And Hawthorn just kind of clawed back. So Friday night, as you know, if you bow out in a season, you've got a big few days. So it finished Friday.
And Friday finish means you got a big
Friday
few days.
You have to butter up, and I can nearly give you the blow by blow from Friday night to the Monday of what we did. Like it was like Friday night out in the strip in Freo, and wake up pretty dusty Saturday. We went to Fyfe's house for like your Saturday session. Funny day. It's bloody funny. We used to do these sprints on Silly Saturday or Mad Monday, or however you want to. We just find one end of each season, the slowest player on the list would challenge who he thought was slower to a race. Good. And Fyfe had a house, still does, in kind of South Fremantle, North Coogee kind of area.
Yeah.
And it was just developing, just getting built. So he was one of the first houses up on the second floor, and there was this nice kind of court where we could race from the end of the court to the front of his house. So Jack Hanneth, who I brought up before, he was the reigning loser. So he lost the year before, so he gets to challenge someone. So he challenged me. So I'm thinking, righto, just to preface this, I've played the night before, I've run 15 Ks, probably a corky here or there, but anyway. Jack was fresh, didn't get a game.
Right.
So we start down the end of the court, and there's video footage of this. It's so funny. And probably not funny for many people to watch, apart from people that were there that get what's going on. All the players are like lined out along the court, spattered along. We're in our jocks for some reason.
All of the players, or just you two?
Just me and Jack. And so like ready, set, the big drum down, walking down. Jack used to do Drew Petrie, boom, boom, boom.
Yes. Crank the tape.
So Jack's ready to go. I'm ready to go. Ready, set, go, bang. And I just didn't get it. I got beaten. I won't even use the excuse book.
I was wondering where this is going.
I don't want to use the excuse book because I've since raced him again, and I'm the reigning champ. We've raced in...
I swear I've seen these races. I saw one at South Fremantle Oval somewhere.
Yeah, I was against Subin. I took him down.
You get challenged every...
Yeah, everyone wants a piece. Jack and I are 2-1. He's 2-1, but I've won the last one. I'm the champ. He lives in Adelaide. It's hard to connect, but every time we do it, it's like, righto, down to your jocks. And then away we go. But this day, it was like the sprint was on. He got me early. It was like he had me halfway down, I was done. So I didn't even finish the race, really. I was like, and everyone was euphoria. So I was in a dark place for the rest of the day, and Fyfe actually said, I've got to go to Melbourne. I'm probably going to win the Brownlow. I'm like, who's going with you? He goes, no, I'm going to go solo, because that's quite unique. And he goes, yeah, no, I don't care. I'll just go. I said, I'll go with you. And he goes, maybe someone should come with me. Yeah, you'll come with me. And I really regretted it on Sunday morning when I woke up and had to get a 9 o'clock flight. 9 o'clock flight to Melbourne.
Yes.
And I jump in. We get business class, which is great. So
you do as well?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Fyfe's day.
Fyfe, so I sat and I think it was 1A and 1B was free. Fyfe was behind me. North Melbourne were in the cattle class because you guys had beaten them. And I was like, I wouldn't have smelt very good after a couple of days on the drink. I'm thinking, well, I hope no one sits there. Who walks in but the absolute messiah of broadcasting and sits next to me?
Dennis.
No, higher than Dennis.
I don't know if there is.
Kathy Freeman.
Oh,
Bruce.
right.
No, Kathy Freeman Call.
Oh, Bruce
Bruce
sorry.
McAvoy. Yeah.
I thought Kathy Freeman was sitting next to you.
No, Bruce sits next to me.
Wow.
And Bruce's like, Michael, how are you? Yes. Good to see you." Goes, and he looked over the back. By now, I'm a bit awkward because I'm like, Bruce is going to... I'm melting down here, sweating. Pores are open. He goes, how about you want to sit next to Nathan? And Nathan probably didn't want to sit next to me, but okay, yeah, that's probably a good idea, Bruce. So Nathan came and sat next to me, and Bruce went behind me. And I think Bruce just read the tea leaves that he didn't want to sit next to me.
You were absolutely cooked. So this is terrible, right? Fyfe wins the Brownlow in 2015.
He did.
And you're there as his date.
Yep.
What's that like?
I was a Nike athlete leading into the Brownlow.
Yes.
And the day after, I was an Adidas athlete because Fyfe took us to the Adidas store. And we didn't have any clothes. So I was like, Adidas were like, just take what you want. I'm like, kind of. This is a bit awkward because I'm with Nike who, by the way, don't give me any clothes ever. They go, go in there, grab some stuff and you're on board. I said, beautiful.
Unreal.
So we were there for a few days. And
Did you take the photo of him with no top on?
No.
I
I don't know who did.
Because he was on the phone, shirtless, on the bed.
Beanie, phone.
I thought Mick might have been in there just snapping pics.
No, I'm nearly certain it was his manager.
Very
I
good.
just
Branding.
imagine him like, do another one, take a go.
At what stage during the night is on that he's won and you're sitting next to him?
Yeah, I think it was the last round. And there was vision of... I got a vote in the last round. In the infamous game where we rested everyone and I was the captain. So Fyfe didn't even play.
And you got a vote.
I got a vote. And the cameras were on me. And I was very excited. Well, I did... Because he wore the walking stick. Not wore it. He used it because he had a broken leg. Because he wouldn't have played the next week because of his broken leg.
Bit of carry on with the walking
So he
stick.
had the walking stick, which I thought was a bit of carry on. But I grabbed his stick because I got a vote. And I was like, yes. And it snapped.
His walking stick
If you can get vision of that, roll that. But
We will.
his stick broke above my head as I got a vote, and he was winning the Brownlow.
And so, what did he limp up on stage without the walking stick?
It's a good question, Dan. I'm not sure what he did. The stick wasn't like fully broken. It was one of those ones that kind of disconnect and connect.
Right.
That is unreal.
Yeah.
That is unreal. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's very good. Little bit of research tells us that Kepler Bradley is the Mad Monday king of Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah, he's not bad. What can we tell you about Kepler? He was one of the great human beings to entertain in a footy environment. Yeah, footy environments, they can become quite... it can become monotonous and a grind, being an AFL player. Some people would question that from the outside looking in, but he sat next to me in meetings. Funniest bloke to sit next to.
Yeah.
One, because he was kind of in the side one week, out the side, and the side just used to go up on the board in the meeting and kept sitting next to you. And he's either really angry or really happy. But what was even funnier, he couldn't read the side ever because he had like short-sightedness or something. So I always had to. We had this situation where I'd either grab him hard on the leg if he was out, and I'd just tap him softly if he was in.
Yeah.
On reflection, I should have just given him a thumbs up or thumbs down because he would misinterpret so often whether he was in or out. So he'd either sit there for a whole meeting, like angry as, that he thought he was out but he was in, or he thought he was in that he was out. But he was great. Him and Aaron Sandilands, like the best of mates. And Aaron, as you can imagine, could take on a fair bit of grog before he kind of felt the side effects.
Yes.
Kepler was fairly similar.
Yes.
And no one really jumped in a shout with Aaron apart from Kepler. And they went pretty well together. Those two, they were phenomenal.
You're in Fremantle's 25 since 95 team, so greatest ever 25 players to play for Fremantle. You get delisted.
Yeah.
How's that sit with you?
I was pretty devastated because by then it was... I remember my exit meeting, which was a very robust discussion.
Was it?
Between Ross, myself and Chris Bond. But no, very respectful kind of robust discussion. Like challenge... Because I love the Fremantle Footy Club and I love my time there. And when you were at West Coast for far longer than I was at Freo. 7 years I was Freo. And when I walked out, it was... you do... for all the kind of ups and downs you have so much nostalgia and love for the place and the people that it's never going to be the same. So I remember going into 16 that I was out of contract, and I can't recall if I'd been offered a contract, but I was pretty confident to have a good year. I was like, I'm going to have a good year and kind of extend, and we're going to go pretty well. And it was always that glass half full approach. And when we were zipping 10, it was looking pretty bleak. So I knew pretty much from that point that I was going to have to go play somewhere else, or potentially, like I got delisted in the end, so whether I was even going to get a crack anywhere else. So it can turn around pretty quickly from being a player that hadn't missed a game, I don't reckon, for the club for probably 40 plus games in a row, or never been dropped, to halfway through that year dropped, clearly prioritising like younger players, clearly going to be a reshuffle of the side. Ross had just signed 5 years, so he was invested in a rebuild, and I was going to be on the back burner, and career mortality was sneaking up.
You hold the record for the most combined disposals in your first and final game. So first game for the Fremantle Dockers combined with your last. So do you leave that discussion? Is it around you saying I want to keep playing and them saying we don't want you to? Is that what it is?
Because
I was pretty open.
Because I'm just about because you put a screen cap up of like a note that you wrote, and it said something like you knew 30 minutes after round 17 or whatever it was. So was that like a meeting that happened straight after a game? Or
I did my shoulder really badly, so I think it was round 17. AC joint, like nerve damage. It was pretty grim. So from that period, it was actually I didn't know if I'd play again after that injury because my arm was essentially dead and just waiting for the nerves to regenerate and do what they do. So I remember when I did that injury, I was certain I wasn't going to get back for the year, and I'd actually just come back in and become a tagger and was doing pretty well at it and like enjoying it because I was always the one that got shuffled out of the midfield with good reason for Fyfe and Neil and Mundy and Subban. I probably thought I had covered, but but he always got shuffled out of the midfield and played that high half forward role with bits and pieces in the midfield. So I'd finally kind of been given, right, you're gonna tag, you're gonna go play on him, and you're always in there. It's a tough role, but you're gonna do it. And when Ross first said it to me, back end of 2016, when I got back in the side, I was like, well, this guy's a prick. He's fully giving me my rope just to noose myself and my career's done. He's going to make me tag. No one's going to want to go near me when they figure out I can't tag. But I did it pretty well. And then it'd be interesting if I got through that year without an injury as to what may have happened. I'm nearly certain that I was finished regardless. It would have been, I would have been more confident maybe to get a trade or something instead of getting delisted because of the injury at that point was, subject to medicals and all of that, whether I'd join your good mate on the Gold Coast, Ryan Davis. So I was very aware it was done at Freo for long parts of that year, which is not funny, but it was interesting because that was like a year where I was as happy as I'd been like personally. I reckon I'd kind of established myself in WA, and I'd finally come to the realisation, gee whiz, it's a good existence and it's a great place to live, and I probably had a bit of a few insecurities or anxieties about actually moving away from WA and moving away from Freo. So
you do. Let's talk about your time at Gold Coast. So you finish up at Fremantle, you move to the Gold Coast as a delisted free agent, play a couple of years there, under Rocket Eade and the boys there. Ryan Davis, friend of the family here. Yeah. I think I've heard different stories around Rocket Eade. I wouldn't mind sharing a couple of those. And Ryan Davis. Do you guys go there? Is he there before you get there?
Ryan's there before me.
Right. So
hadn't paid his phone bill for 12 months when I get there, and he kept getting these. Sorry to jump in on the question. No. He kept getting these.
It's like cease and desist. No.
Yeah, like from Telstra. So he put it on the fridge. He owes like $1,800. I'm like, what? Just pay it. He's like, yeah.
$1,800. He was rolling that in Perth as well when he was living with me. So you live with him. Do you know? So he told the story here on the podcast about riding his bicycle.
It's the best story of all time.
Do you know that as a player, like when you're in 2017, Are you aware of that's how he got on the list, by riding a bike around a park?
I think it was too commonly known around the club for Rocket not to know, and which speaks to somewhat, because he went over there and played well.
Yeah.
Like, he went to the Gold Coast and didn't miss a game in his first year. Second year, again, it's one of those ones, you go to a club and the first year's a bit kind of like you're the new toy or whatever, and then you kind of filter out, which unfortunately happened to him. But yeah, I don't love the fact he had to run a 7-minuter 2K to get it on the list, because he showed he could do it. Correct. But yeah, that story is a great one, because I was glad he got on it, because now I'm a really good mate of his. Somehow, because he's not. He's just weird, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kindly put his wedding on grand final day.
Which if Flagmantle are in.
Yes. Is Flagmantle real? Is Flagmantle real?
I'd say there's probably too many ups and downs at the moment. There's little aspects of their game that's just getting found out for little chunks that I think will bring them undone in the finals. But who could know?
They're building as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like beyond this year, Fremantle is a side. If it was a stock market, you'd have significant stocks in beyond this year.
Yeah, very good. Rocket Eid. What sort of stuff? We've all heard the sprays. He's talking to Will Minson in the box,
which he claims it wasn't real.
That's real. There's no doubt. Leon Cameron's in there as his assistant coach.
Rocket. We can't think.
That's literally my favourite clip on the internet. Will, get him off. Right. So was that the sort of coach that he was? Was he a sprayer?
Again, I've got a huge admiration for Rocket, because Rocket was the one that pinned some hope on me when delisted, shoulder couldn't lift. The suitors for me at the end of 16 were limited to the point where I had two options, of which the Gold Coast was one, and Rocket kind of put the side up and said, "You're going to be this player for us."
Who's the other one?
Adelaide.
Huh.
They played in the grand final that year. But I wouldn't be good mates with Ryan Davis, of which maybe I should have gone to Adelaide.
Sorry, Rocket.
But yeah, Rocket. So yeah, he put a side up. I remember meeting with him, and I was like, I like this. Like, he's put me in the team, and first time I reckon for ever in my career, you had some validation.
Yeah.
And I love Ross and all that, but Ross they were different coaches. But anyway, so I decided to go to the Gold Coast. I didn't have a huge amount of Rocket ammunition, but because he actually got sacked halfway through the year,
right?
Of which, again, our career mortality sneaks up. A coach has brought you over,
and he liked you, and he's gone.
Yeah, and he was playing me, and I'd broken my leg at this point, so I was out for the rest of the year. Again, so career mortality had snuck in, and probably drawing a little bit closer. But Rocket used to walk around. He's well known for just readjusting himself. Just kind of has to male problems. But I remember, I think Dave Swallow, who is the nicest guy of all time, WA's own David Swallow. Yes, he's got it all, that man. He's like great footy career, contract, lifestyle on the Gold Coast, great, terrific young family, healthy family. He's a handsome young man. He's a ripper, Dave.
Rooster. He lent me his bike for the Noosa Triathlon in 2019.
Just
far too small for me.
Salt of the earth. But he probably would have bought a new one and given it to you. He's that type of operator.
Good bloke.
Dave was walking around with his food at Gold Coast. You get fed at lunchtime. He was walking around with a plate of food, Dave, and Rocket kind of walking around doing what coaches do, awkward stuff like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing? And Dave, how are you, mate?" And kind of just scratched himself, and then goes, pick something off David's plate, chucks it in his mouth. Everyone saw it, but Rocket was oblivious to the fact he'd scratched and adjusted.
Did Dave say?
And Dave was like, Dave can be lost for words at the best of times, but Dave, didn't know what was to be said.
That's very good. All right, so play at Gold Coast, finishes up. AFL career done and dusted. Are you fulfilled? Do you feel like you've got more in the tank? How did you finish when?
My own experience. I'm so happy with where my life is now, and things do happen for a reason. At the time, I was very, when I finished at the Gold Coast, I wasn't stoked with kind of how my last year had gone and lack of opportunity, and Yeah, Mum was really ill that year. Mum passed away that year. So there was a lot going on that year for me that what you've known for so long, your footy career, was slipping away, and then some stuff in terms of that's going to finish up. You'd think limited opportunity, mum's illness, all of that. When I'd finished, the best thing for me, on reflection, was for my career to finish and just get on with life, because as you know, you have anxieties about who you are when you finish. Some more than others. I was very confident I had assets and skills to succeed in life beyond football, but when you do reflect and have the nostalgia of high income, you're playing footy, you're knocking around with great mates, you're never going to replicate that in what you do beyond that. So, for the first probably few months, I was probably a bit lost and a bit uneasy about how it finished, a bit naive to the fact that it had finished. I was a bit like, maybe I'll get another opportunity somewhere, or whatever it might be. But pretty quickly I moved beyond that and set up kind of what my life is now, which is, like you say, are you ever going to be as fulfilled? I think, right now I've just signed a 2-year contract extension with Werribee coaching in the VFL, which I love. I do, a handful of media slots, which I love, and then now I've got a happy, healthy young family. So it's, in terms of fulfillment, that's, well and truly above being an AFL athlete.
It's good. Love that answer. Very good. What about, a couple more lighter side of things, talking about coming out of the game, just doing a bit of a dive around. Out of Bounds with Michael Barlow. Do you want me to read you do you want me to read you a little synopsis here?
Let's do it.
The Out of Bounds podcast with Michael Barlow is the first ever podcast to be hosted by a current AFL player.
Pioneer.
Sorry, that's just lies.
You reckon?
I was doing a podcast I was doing my podcast in 2013.
That was
Squawk Talk.
Yeah,
Squawk Talk, mate.
Solidified by the club.
Right.
I went rogue. I was out of bounds.
Joe Rogan.
I was out of bounds. Doing stuff.
Invite
not
listeners
in the West Coast polo, not
behind
polo.
the curtain to discover what life is really like in the AFL. Was it good?
It was good.
We're doing this almost full time now. It's good fun.
Yeah, I missed opportunity, wasn't it? Because
love
doing, and to be honest, so I did that first year at Freo. Matt De Boer, who's an absolute weapon in terms of off field, and where he's going to go, he came with this idea. He knew I'd talked garbage and did a lot of media stuff over there. The West Australia is great, isn't it? Like 2 clubs.
Yeah.
So how many players at West Coast? I'll come back to this answer.
Yes.
You're giving me shit about the podcast, but how many players at West Coast and Freo get a car, a media slot, and like individual sponsors compared to players at Melbourne?
I'd say too many.
Yeah.
Correct.
Lee Spur's still driving around in a car from... Mate,
Spurry's 6PRs main guy, mate.
He's a weapon. But that speaks to that. We're very lucky in WA to get all of that. But so I was doing a lot of that, and Matt De Boer came to me and goes, "What do you reckon we'll do?" And which speaks to his vision. You say podcast, but podcasting back then was limited, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now it's booming. So did it for a year. I reckon I did 12. But I was a bit raw in how I did it. I remember I went episode 2, went down to Swan Brewery on a Tuesday. Dennis Cometti. Oh, beautiful.
Episode 2's Dennis Cometti, no worries.
And I was like, right, how are we doing this, Dennis? I've got my phone to record. I was like, I think it works best if you get a glass and you put that in there. So I'm out of there, listen to it back. It's like, I'm like, no. Because it was a great chat, as you know. He's unbelievable.
So you butchered it?
Butchered it, yeah.
Not salvageable.
Oh, we put it out there. Oh yeah.
I saw
about Dennis Cometti.
I saw comments on Reddit and someone was like, enjoyed the chat with Dennis Cometti. I didn't know that was...
He was out there.
Yeah.
I saw a comment on Reddit as well. The top one on that post was nice of the airline pilots to let them record this in the cockpit.
That was podcasting back then. How far we've come.
Oh, that is very good. That is great shit. Charlie, that made me the best thing I've ever heard. I just imagine you sitting down at the Swan Brewery with Dennis Cometti. Like,
No one in there. Tuesday, 10 a.m.
Dennis, he's a good man.
Great
Dennis.
man. But
What about the Michael Barlow medal in fantasy
yeah,
land?
those guys
cash
do great.
cow, the cash cow of the year.
Yeah, Nick Dacos this year, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's humbling. I would have thought someone would have jumped me. I think so. It's a first-year player that has a good year.
Yeah, goes up in value.
Yeah, so Nick Dacos, I think maybe they are wedded to me, and maybe there's a potential there for me to collab with them.
There we go.
And
little collab for Mick.
so I'll jot that down in my notes to leave here and collab.
How's coaching going with Werribee, your head coach of a VFL team? How's that been?
Loving it. So last year, first year, Victoria only had half a year last year. So this year I'd treat it as my first full season. Because when I finished, I was probably... I went and was an assistant coach under Mark Williams at Werribee, played an assistant, and I was pretty much doing it just to add a little bit of meat on the bone to the contract. But Choco brought me in. Choco's one not to bullshit. Choco's like, well, if you're here doing it, you're doing it. You know, here's how to code, here's how to... Which I always kind of had an ability to coach and teach, and especially like younger players, midfield staff, craft, all that. But Choco, he's kind of forceful nature, and you're not here just to take the piss. You're going to do this. It's swayed me now to be my own coach and coach your own side. So, and I love it because I've coached. I played at Werribee, got drafted out of Werribee, end up back at Werribee. A standalone club, so we're our own club in a 21-team comp against kind of 14 clubs that are aligned. So it's a unique comp, and it's kind of evolving a little bit, but I love it. Yeah.
Last question for us. Who was the fines master at Fremantle and who was the fines master at Gold Coast? And did they have those?
Mate, I think I'm nearly certain.
Was there fine sessions at both the clubs?
When Ross rocked up, I think that became extinct.
No fines.
No, but Aaron Sandilands always used to have Silly Sunday at his house. The best. I've probably said a few people are the best people. Aaron, he is the best person in the world. Even though on a Silly Sunday, right, I had a UDL. I was getting a bit ahead of myself. Had a UDL and I went to throw it in his bin, into the bin.
Yes.
It was going in. Nice throw. As I threw it, it's like one of those slow motion moments. As I threw it, spied Aaron, stood up to walk across to get something. And I was like, whoosh, whoosh, hits him in the head.
No.
Hits him in the head. And he looks over and pins me and puts me into his mulch in his garden, like literally head under. He'll come out and I've got mulch all through my mouth. But Aaron, like in terms of fine master, Aaron used to do the Silly Sunday, pay for everything as well. Like pizzas get delivered. Someone try and give him $10, he'd be like, this is my day. You put that away.
Wow. Dress ups.
But he would then kind of allocate, your skull and that. You're doing that.
Yes.
So he was good at that.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. Social media this is for the people, Mick.
Yep.
I know you know this, and so we're going to wrap this up. You've been a good man with your time. And these are the last couple of questions from the people. You okay with time, Mick?
Just checking. Yes.
Very good.
Wednesdays is a great day for me. What day was it going out? Wednesday, yeah.
Perfect. Very good. Well, I mean, we were just working around the birth of your child, which again, congratulations about that. But this is from the people for you. You've heard from Dan and I. This is from the guests. Some questions here. Now, this first one, Dan, if you can read it out, but then I just want to give it some context for the listeners. So, Gavro543.
Did you get any weird or funny responses when your Insta got hacked?
Now, where have I put
Are you answering this or me?
No, I just want to give it some context. Where have I put
It's
this?
gone. My Instagram
Wait.
left.
Okay. Social media got hacked. This is in inverted commas. This is from an article. What a wild ride the last 3 weeks have been. Just regained my Twitter after being held captive for 3 weeks in Turkey, the tweet stated. You had to put out a statement because people thought you had been held captive in Turkey. What's happened?
You need anyone listening out there that really like your social media and whatnot, get that 6-digit authenticator code or whatever it is. Yeah, that's two-way factor.
We got that? I think we
You need it.
I think we do. We definitely do.
Yeah.
So my Twitter and Instagram got hacked during 2020, I reckon it was.
Do you know how?
No, you get like an inbox. Actually, I allowed him. It was Jack Lukosius plays at the Suns.
Yes.
Got like a random inbox from him. And it's like, oh, check this out. You know, one of those ones. Like, oh, I'll check that out. And then my phone screen literally started going like purple and pink and yellow. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? To the point where within 30 minutes after that, my Instagram, all my photos have been gone. And they started putting up little photos of pillows and like Instagram logos. And I couldn't get in. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. People are texting me saying, well, you're a weirdo, man. So that Instagram went, and it went for a while, and then I, like, to the point where I'd given up on it and started a new one. And then one day, like, I just went to my emails and kind of logged back in, tried to log back in. Every time you'd log back in, they'd log you back out really quickly. People were trying to get money off me from Turkey and all that. Well, literally, send money, Western Union to this address. I'm like, no. So anyway, I end up getting it back, and I put the two-way authenticator code in. And to this day, I don't know how it went again. Like within 2 months, again, something popped up. It was like, press the squares with a car in it or something. And I pressed a couple, and then it was like, oh, no, that's gone again. So I lost it twice. So that's the Instagram, right? But the Twitter, I end up keeping. Like I end up getting back in, and I've still got the same Twitter. But I put that tweet out. Yeah, and then I got an inbox off Tom Brown from Channel 7 saying, Michael, give me a call when you can. And I was like,
no.
Why? Like, no. Anyway, I was like, and I remember clear as day, I was at the gym and I was with a mate and I was like, oh, I'll figure that out later. And then I got another inbox off a lady, Sarah, I reckon, from maybe the West Australian, saying, Michael, I hope you're okay. We want to run a story. Give us a call. Like, is everything okay? And then I twigged. I was like, these people actually think physically I've been held captive in Turkey.
For your Twitter account.
So I quickly told them. And I said, look, and they're like, oh, get on with your day. Tom Brown didn't ever reply. He didn't.
No story. Move on.
Oh my God, that is unreal.
How many like Nigerian princes have you funded as well? I feel like are you just like an easy catch for phishing scams?
Yeah, I'm concerned about.
I want to get you back to work, mate. Let's keep working through this. That's unreal. Jared O. Porst.
A bit of an unusual one here, but Mick. In Mick's first year at Freo, he had to buy his own club merchandise. I only know this because he was $14 short on a media polo, and I happened to be in the team store at the time, asked for the cash to help him out, and was happy to oblige.
Did that happen or not?
I wouldn't put it past that happening. $14 short for a club polo. I don't know why I'd be... You know, the polos are the worst thing to buy.
Yeah, no one's buying those.
That's the only thing about that I may be questioning, that I'm buying a club polo. Maybe like a club jacket or something. But back in the day, you could just go in there and say, "I'll pay that later." Maybe I'll run up debt in the Freo team store.
Hayden Acker.
What's your favourite landmark / establishment in Werribee?
Werribee.
Oh, a few. We've got Avalon Airport Oval, which is
very good.
A footy oval.
Very good. Well done. Hang on. Chihuahua.biscuit.chili.
Okay. So there's an instruction for me in this. Look into his eyes and make sure he's being honest. Okay. Ask him if it's true that Fyfe doesn't know some of his teammates' names.
No. I would say that's incorrect.
Okay.
Lock it in, Eddie. Frenzy 82. I don't need much.
Will Mundy get to 400?
Oh, Dave, he's riding the roller coaster a bit with the whole team, isn't he? So he's having... Well, I just think it's remarkable what he's done. So I don't think he will. He'd need another full year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd need one more full year. Correct, Charlie? What's he need?
Finals this year, and I think full year and finals next year. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Nah, he'll miss. Yeah.
Could
go on, but...
You'd love to see him do it. Samps _9.
Did he believe you could? Do you believe you could have got the Brownlow in your first year if you didn't get injured?
And this is one of the great myths, I reckon, and I'm happy for it to kind of continue as a myth that I was going to win the Brownlow. On that night, Chris Judd was out by about 10 votes when I broke my leg. So
I was wondering that.
Yeah, Chris Judd was out by 10. I think I was coming third or fourth, which is not too bad, I suppose. But yeah, Judd was home. But the only thing that would have helped was if Judd had got rubbed out for whacking Pav that year.
Yes.
Ineligible.
Yes.
And I didn't break my leg. Maybe.
Okay, so there's a fair few things
There's
that go right.
yeah. Moving. Sliding doors.
Bon Chabario. Now, before you ask this, I will say that you are the Barney. You're the antichrist of Barney Stinson. So Barney Stinson on How I Met Your Mother could never take a bad photo. You take a photo, it's a good photo. Yeah. Michael Barlow, I've never seen a good photo of Michael Barlow. I feel like it was every weekend in the West. I'll be getting up, eating my wheat bix and getting ready to go. And Mickey Barlow had an action shot. He's had an eye shut or a belly hanging out or I don't know, like a spaghetti arms. I don't know what it was, but I've never seen a good one. So this is relevant, this story, this question.
So why was your belly always hanging out of your jersey?
Freo went with ISC as their jumper sponsor in 2012. 2011 maybe. And they come and fit you up. And they go, all right, we've just been to Sydney. They all want them really tight. Like pretty much if you're large, you want a small. If you're a kind of medium, you want an extra small. So I think I always end up going a small jumper, a really small, like the small ISC jumper. And you'd put it on. And I have this back ass, like my ass ends up like halfway up my spine. And it was... the jumper just rolled up the back arse all the time. And, I actually cut a pretty good figure when I played, right? But it probably didn't look that way because my jumper could always roll up and you'd see skin.
You'd have your tummy hanging out. It wasn't fat. It was
every game I had to pull it down.
Why didn't you get the extended? You could ask for the long one.
Yeah, I think I did. But again, the back arse, unless you kind of got your grandparents to pin it to your shorts, it was rolling up.
Oh, this is an interesting one. I don't know. I'll have to have a think about this question too. X Green 12.
Best off-field derby clash.
You got one?
No, just like every now and then you run into West Coast players out. And one night, I think it was after a Waffle Grand Final. I don't know who I was out with, but I remember Jamie Cripps was out.
Cripper.
He was out solo.
And when Cripper gets some beers into him, cannot handle the beers.
It was all over it. Great bloke, but just funny just real raw. Like walking over to groups of people and picking up their drinks and pouring it out and walking over to another group. That's not exactly what happened.
No, that would be mild behaviour for Jamie.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I found it just so funny because I'd never met him before, apart from playing against him. And he just rolls up. I reckon he just walked up and started talking, half kind of doing this other stuff. And it was that was pretty funny.
Cripper is a diabetic, and so he's matured and learnt to sort of handle his bits a bit better. But early days, country boy. The blood sugar levels would kind of, I can't remember if it was up or down, but when it sort of got to that state, well, Cripper's persona turned into just a complete lunatic, basically. So tipping someone's drink out would have been the least of everyone's issues, I'm sure. Jason _McKenna.
How was it to play cricket for Shepparton United against?
You're right,
mate. This is how it's written. How was it to play cricket for Shepparton United again and make runs?
Are you well?
How
was it to play cricket for Shepparton United again and make runs?
That'd be from one. Again, when I finished footy at the Suns, came back and just lived with mum and dad for a bit, and I was like, just figuring out what I'm going to do, thinking about going back to Perth, maybe staying in Victoria, and the weekends open up, don't they? I was like, I'll go play cricket with the old cricket team.
Yeah,
could only play 1 dayers, so D grade and E grade I think played 1 dayers. Everyone else played 2 days, so I couldn't commit the full double weekend to play A grade, which would have been the capacity. So I played D grade with these I would call them kids. They were like 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds on fields the size of that coffee cup. It was good fun. They loved it, and I loved it.
Did you make any runs?
I did.
Don't tell me you've not.
I made 80. I made 80 one day, and then I made. Did I make 100? I don't know, but I've played a few games. I reckon I made a couple of 80s.
Very good.
Just hitting 12-year-olds around the park.
Well, they're either 12 or they're 70.
Yeah.
Mick, a couple of days after the birth of your child, we appreciate your time today, mate. You've been incredibly generous, great career, and a couple of good laughs along the way, mate. Well done.
I appreciate that, guys. You're doing great stuff, and I'm looking forward to that hat arriving, correct?
Yes. No. So that hat that you asked about, not ours. We got better shit than that for you, mate. So we'll get the flag mantle gear over to you. If you've watched this and you want to get some flag mantle gear, you know where to go. backchatpodcast.com.au/merch. You can find us on socials, backchat_. Thanks to our supporters and sponsors in Whippersnapper, Shelter, Margaret River Roasting Co., Bluebet and Leadable Cameras. We appreciate you. Thanks to our patrons. If you want to find anything you need to do, backchatpodcast.com.au.